What's up guys, and welcome back to Gabe Miller Music. Today I'm going to be showing you how I took the drop in the intro and made it hit hard. This came about because I'm mixing a few songs for a fellow producer, a guy by the name of Rudy. I'll link his music in the description below, and the track that you heard in the intro is one of his tracks that I'm mixing. And the final version is going to be a bit more of a radio-friendly, kind of chill, pop EDM track, but he gave me permission for the purposes of this video to also make a version that is a total festival banger. So I'm going to be using his completely unmixed track as a way to show you guys the sound selection, the layering, and the mixing techniques I use to make an EDM drop hit as hard as possible. So without any further ado, let's jump into the DAW. Alright, so let's jump into Reaper here. This has kind of become my DAW of choice these days since my old Mac back there is old and barely functional, so I'm on my Windows laptop. Let's start off with the drop and what I did to make the drop as powerful as I possibly could. So the first thing I did was replace the kick, and this is something that's just inherent to the sample I was provided with, didn't really lend itself to what I wanted. I can show you why. So here's the original kick. So, not a bad kick at all, but it doesn't really suit itself for this kind of sound. It doesn't have a lot of top end, it doesn't have a lot of that high-end snap that I'm looking for. It's kind of a more muffled kick, and then also it doesn't have a lot of the low end that I want. As you can see here, this was originally a Future Bass sample, and in Future Bass, because you've got more drums going faster at a faster tempo and such, you want a shorter kick, but in a 128 BPM EDM drop, you can get away with a kick that's a little longer. So I wanted something with basically more of everything, more length, more bass, and more high end, more of that snap. So I replaced it with a kick that you can get in my free sample pack, and I'll link to that in the description. There are no download gates or anything obnoxious like that. So here is the new kick. So this is going to cut through the mix a lot better. The next thing I went ahead and added, which wasn't there previously, was a dedicated bass track. The elements that I was given had a good bit of low end to them, but there was nothing really holding down the low end and providing a firm foundation. So that's what I added next. And this came in a couple of stages. So I've got this serum patch here. This is a preset that I took and modified quite a bit. And so what I'm going for here is something with a good bit of low end, so that sub to kind of hold everything down, and then some grit. A lot of big room progressive house tracks have surprisingly loud, in-your-face, and gritty basses. This is not something that people tend to pick up on until they've been exposed to it, but that is a really common thing, and it really helps increase kind of the punch of the track. So from there, I rendered this out and then chopped it up a bit, so it goes 1, 2, 3, stop. 1, 2, 3, stop, like this. And on here, of course, I have trusty LFO tool pumping it a good bit. And then a bit of EQ to emphasize the upper mids and cut off a bit of that high end. So, and you can hear just by itself, there's quite a bit of power and really nice meshing towards the kick and the bass. This is something you should always check for. If your kick and your bass aren't working really nicely together, the whole track is going to fall apart. So on top of that, then I can start bringing in the existing elements. So the big one that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting is and I did do quite a bit to this to get it to really pop out of the mix. So first of all, well, let me take off all the processing and I can show you what it does. Pretty solid element by itself. Here's some EQ. Just get as much high end out of it as I possibly can. And then a big one, OTT. Not a ton of OTT, but enough to get a pretty extreme kind of slamming of the sound. So it's adding some upper harmonics, it's compressing it a good bit, and then I've mixed that in with the original dry signal. And then finally, of course, LFO tool. So just by themselves, swapping out the kick, adding that bass, and then tweaking this main kind of pluck element, do quite a bit to increase the power of the drop. And of course, embedded in there is a really solid melody that Rudy provided me with, and it's got some good rhythm to it. It's very bouncy. It's extremely catchy. I've had it stuck in my head for the past couple of days since I've been working on this track. There was already a banger embedded in this track. It just needed a bit of production to really bring that out and make it apparent. So moving on, the next thing that I added are these cymbals. Got a bit of reverb on there, as you can hear that tail dying out. Mix them in kinda subtly with the kick. Cymbals always go a long way to really accentuating that 4-on-the-floor kick, adding some more energy and excitement, so I made sure to add that in there. And then we can get into the elements that I was like provided with. So, first of all, these and as you can see on everything, I've chopped out the 4th beat of everything. So you get this nice kind of push and pull effect, and it matches what the bass is doing. So it goes like this. And it allows that main pluck to kind of float on top. Almost kind of a call and response thing going on here. So in addition to that, we've got some more synth stuff. This intro element, I didn't really touch this because it's pretty quiet here, just reinforcing that main synth that's sidechained heavily. And then finally, I'm pretty sure these are vocals. So we drop all that in together, and I've got a limiter on the master as well and a little bit of OTT. Drop all that in and you get and there's also this element, which starts off filtered. This was something that was just given to me. This is the final thing that kind of floats on top of everything else, makes sure the melody is very apparent, and adds that extra bit of excitement. And I love the high cut automation moving this through, so slowly raising the energy level over time. So you can hear this dropping in. And then from here, I've added a couple more elements. So we've got these hats and a snare. Decently short snare. This was originally a dubstep snare, so I've shortened the tail quite a bit. Just have that punch going on here, and then this little fill right here. And you can see just how far percussion really goes in bringing the energy level from here to here. I added that snare and those hi-hats, and those really do a lot to make a full drop feel much more exciting as it progresses. And that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much to Rudy for allowing me to use his track as an example in this video. If you'd like to hear the finished song, I will leave a link down in the description. It's a little more on the chill side than the version that I've presented to you, but I'm quite happy with how it turned out. And if you would like to watch another video by me, another kind of production tutorial, you can click or tap up over here somewhere. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will be back with a new video next week. Peace!